All right, so let's take a look at this template. Now, what this is going to do is this is going to help you realize what your actual impact of your ads are on your revenue. So this is great for e-commerce brands, maybe not so much for leads-based situations, but if you're an e-commerce store and you want to really know what the effectiveness of your Facebook or Google ads are, I built this spreadsheet to help you do that. Now, with Apple's iOS 14 policy, people are kind of wondering, how accurate is my data? Well, the thing is, in reality, the dashboard that Facebook gives you has never really been that accurate. It gives you a good glimpse, and sure, the tracking is decent, but almost every situation there's missing conversions and you're not getting any of that. So if you're making your decisions solely based on what you're seeing in Facebook's ads manager, you may be hurting yourself. So this spreadsheet is something I built to hopefully make things a little easier to understand and help you analyze and interpret the data. So let's take a look. First off, as it says here in red, do not edit these columns. These ones here are indeed formulas. So those will change based on the stuff you put in here. So let's take a look here. So what you're going to want to do is, at the very minimum, you don't want to do daily. At the very minimum, you want to do by week. And you want to give each week's worth of data at least a week kind of a buffer. So I wouldn't fill in the week of March 21st here through the 27th. I wouldn't do it as soon as that last date is over. I would wait a full week and then put in the data. That's because some of the data that Facebook has might change between that time period, because it takes time for their data to be updated, especially with the new tracking stuff. And you want to have a pretty good idea of what they're telling you to help with the calculations. So very simply, you can do this by month if you wanted to, by 2-week periods, but at the smallest increments, you want to do week. So put in the start date, end date, and then one of the key metrics is you want to put in the amount spent. So look at all of the active campaigns that you ran during that period of time and put in the total dollars you spent. Put in the total purchases that Facebook said that you had. Put in what Facebook's reported return on ad spend is. And then finally, put in what Facebook's reported revenue is. Next, you're going to want to get data from, if you're on Shopify, that's a great place to get the analytics. If you're on WooCommerce, you can get it there. Google Analytics. If you're on an e-commerce platform, I prefer you get that data from them instead of analytics, just because of possibilities of missed data there too. So you're going to want to put in your total store visits, so the total amount of visitors to the store. And then finally, the total store purchases, what the total store purchases and the revenue was for that specific time period, and only for those specific time periods. In these columns to the right, this will make a calculation based on all these numbers. The total profit is going to be the revenue minus the ad spend. So taking all things out of consideration, of course, this doesn't include things like cost of the products sold, but we want to take a really good look, just pure and simple, the total profit versus ad spend, and the total revenue versus ad spend, and see what that profit is. And then you'll have this column here, the ad profit margin. Now, so what is the ad profit margin? This is the percentage of difference, not the difference, but the percentage of kind of like what's left over of the revenue to ad spend. So for this example here, you see 82.20%. That means that out of the total revenue, 82.20% is what the profit is. when you consider the ad spend. Now, some people like to spend a different amount on ads to bring in new customers. So with this, roughly, that tells you that you're spending 20% on your revenue trying to acquire brand new customers. If you're in e-commerce, some people like to go all the way up to 40%. So that should give you a little bit of an inside look there if you're trying to acquire new customers. So this company here, with this rate, only spending 20% of revenue trying to on marketing with Facebook ads, trying to get brand new customers. So what you kind of look at there is week to week, as you increase ad spend, as you see here, these last 3 weeks here, the amount of ad spend was increased from $1,000 to $2,000 to $3,500, and you can see the purchases increase. You can see the revenue increase, right? And then you can also see what the most important thing is the total store revenue increase. But what has remained roughly the same? The ad profit margin. So while we're increasing the amount spent, the revenue is going up. The total store revenue is going up. The purchases are going up. But this ad profit margin is remaining roughly the same. So what that tells you as a marketer is that you're increasing ad spend, but your profit margin is staying the same. That means you're having sustainable growth. That's good. And then finally, you'll see here the true return on ad spend. So this is a formula that kind of takes everything into consideration and tells you that all things considered, not including a cost for items, this is more aligned of what the ads and the impact of your ads and your spend compared to revenue and what you're investing as a company into getting brand new customers. This kind of tells you what you're really doing, what your true return on ad spend is. And you can find out what your base is there. Obviously, with a true return on ad spend, you definitely want to be above a 2. That would probably be my absolute minimum there. Others, if you want to be above a 5, it just kind of depends on where you're at. So if in Facebook you're comfortable with a 1x for brand new customers, some people are, believe it or not. For true ROAS, you want to be above a 2. So just something to consider, and you'll have to figure out what you're comfortable with there. Now let's go to the graphs, because this is a pretty cool part that I like. So here you can visually see, and these will automatically populate, you can visually see the impact. And so this is stuff that I look at right here. So look at this. This is the blue amount spent. You can see we're staying along this line nicely here. But check this out. The revenue from Facebook reported, and the revenue for the total store revenue, not just this one right here, is the one that Facebook's reporting. And this one right here is the one that's reported from your e-commerce platform, the total store revenue. This is what I like to see. I like to see this same graph. See how the lines just kind of follow each other here? They're almost the same. They keep the kind of same area. What this tells me is that yes, the ad spend is having a direct effect on total store revenue. So whatever Facebook is reporting in terms of revenue gain from ads might be actually better than what is being reported in the dashboard. And you can see, because of the total store revenue that comes from the e-commerce platform, that there is a direct impact on that. That's awesome. Now, if you were seeing this going up and this one kind of going down and not really keeping the same distance here, then I would be concerned. That's something that you would want to look at. Another one is store visits versus ad spend. This can help you determine if you're getting more visits for your amount of ad spend. So you can see here, this here, you kind of see this upward trend where we started those last 3 weeks that I showed you on the previous, that we started increasing ad spend. Well, that increased total store visits. That's good. Next is the ad profit margin. So this is something that you want to take a look at and see, are you seeing a good solid line here? You don't want your profit margin to go down too much. You want to make sure that you're constantly growing here. Total purchases compared to Facebook purchases. Again, very similar to what's up here in this Facebook spend versus revenue. Here you can really see how that compares to each other, and make sure that you're following that space. Make sure that that's following the same direction, so that you know your ads are having an effect on your total sales. Another thing here is the Facebook reported return on ad spend. You want to make sure that you're looking at your Facebook reported ROAS here, and you can identify patterns to see if you're going up, down, and as you increase ad spend. So those are things to look at. And then finally here you have your true return on ad spend to see where you are. As you see here, this one's going a little bit down. We've been increasing ad spend for this particular account. And a lot of times when you increase ad spend, the return on ad spend goes down a little bit. So you want to monitor that and make sure it stays within a range that you're comfortable with, right? So you're going to have ups and downs. It happens. You just want to make sure that it's in a range that you're comfortable with, and that's all that is. So when you do this, whenever you're going to add a new line, what I would do is simply just copy, paste the line here, and then you can just change all this info. And that way, these formulas will automatically populate whenever you do so. And that's pretty much it. Again, always a great idea to look at data, interpret it, analyze it, and really figure out, and especially the way things are now, which we're kind of heading to cookieless tracking a little bit here with Apple's new privacy policy. This will help you really see that data better. All right, thanks so much, and I hope this helps.